Ukrainian Days 2014 and the 23rd anniversary of the Ukrainian independence come at a very tense and defining time in world order. During the past 12 months, Ukraine has struggled to define itself as a free, sovereign, democratic state as it aspires to join the European Union. The Russian-sponsored terrorist invasion of eastern Ukraine reached obscene proportions when the terrorists employed missiles to shoot down Malaysian Airlines Flight 17, carrying 298 innocent people comprised of different nationalities, among them 80 children. We mourn the senseless loss of innocent life and condemn the terrorists and the Russian state that supplied them with the missiles. The battle for Ukraine's sovereignty continues as Ukrainian National Army gathers strength in its efforts to repel the Russian-backed terrorists. Millions of lives were sacrificed to re-establish Ukraine's independence. And now, the fight continues to maintain Ukraine's sovereignty and the dignity of its people. Throughout this 12-month ordeal, the Ukrainian nation has felt the protective grace of God and a mentoring spirit of Taras Shevchenko, Ukraine's poet laureate. Shevchenko became our nation's beacon of hope and perseverance as he guided Ukraine into regaining its identity. In his poetry, he taught us to fight for what is rightfully ours. His motto, "Fight and you should prevail," served many generations of Ukrainian freedom fighters. Today, Ukraine's battle continues, and for the first time in history, the world understands that the fate of Europe hinges on the outcome. The Ukrainian nation is very thankful to the United States government and its people for their help and support of Ukraine during this difficult time. Let us move forward. Deep in our hearts, let us harbor the spirit of Maidan, where the feeling of true freedom reigned, where we stood shoulder to shoulder united by our Ukrainian heritage. It is precisely this spirit, the spirit that Taras Shevchenko awakened in us, that clearly defines our task in the endeavor for our homeland, Ukraine, and its people. Let this deep spirit shield us from fear. God bless America. God bless Ukraine.
My dear Ukrainian brothers and sisters, I am really happy to stand here in front of you with the colors of my flag. I am proud because Ukraine, celebrating its independence, is fighting for its independence. It's fighting in the real war. And people in Ukraine are dying not only for independence of their own country, but also for the values which are so dear for many Europeans, for Americans, for many other countries in the world. It's very difficult to believe that 100 years after the First World War started and 75 years after the Second World War started, we are in the situation where we have to fight for the very simple reason just to exist as a country, just to exist as a nation. And when Lithuania was fighting for its independence, all Lithuanians living all over the world were really supporting us. And that's why I really believe that your support to your country today is really crucial. And I know many Ukrainians here in Chicago. I've met them and I saw how concerned they are and how much they love their country. I believe today we have all to unite together to stand against new dictatorships, to stand against the attempts to destroy the international law. I want to wish you today the nice celebration, but also I want you all to remember, not only today, but each and every day, that the fight is going on. And each of us, how much we can, we have to support Ukraine today. Slava Ukraini!
As a president of the World Federation of Ukrainian Lemko Associations, I would like to say a few words about Lemkos. These are the very Western Ukrainians that 70 years ago have been deported from their native lands on the very Western Ukrainian ethnic lands. Nowadays, these are the territories of Poland and Slovak Republic. 70 years ago, communist regimes made people to leave their houses in 2 hours, without the possibility to take anything from home, without possibility to return back. This crime has not been recognized by world community. This crime and those who were committing that crime were not punished. And today we are on the verge of repeating the same crime. Lemkos who were deported to the very eastern lands of Ukraine in Luhansk region nowadays have to escape from their new home in Luhansk because the terrorists are doing their work. When crime is not punished, it has a tendency to repeat again. The same thing happened with Crimean Tatars. 70 years ago, they were deported from their lands. In March 2014, they were deported, they started to be deported once again. And keeping this in mind, I want to thank first of all to the representatives of the great American nation, of the United States of America, all those people who live here and support Ukraine every day, in every step in our fight for independence, freedom, human rights, and peace. I would like to thank, on behalf of all Lemko associations of Ukraine, Poland, Slovak Republic, Serbia, Croatia, Canada, and the United States of America, to all the people of all the world who help Ukrainians to defend their nation and their country. I want to thank every single Ukrainian who lives here, every single person who feels Ukrainian and who loves Ukraine and Ukrainian culture. Without your support, it would be very, very hard to fight. But knowing that we are not alone, that there are millions and millions of us around the world, I know that very soon we will get our victory.
Today, Ukrainian people in Chicago and throughout the world stand united and proud of Ukraine's 23 years of independence and for the nation's courage and determination to defend its country from those barbaric Russian invaders. Let me just say that we really appreciate the support and solidarity of the representatives and dignitaries who joined us today. Yesterday, we came together at the Daily Center for the Independence celebrations of the Baltic countries, and we thank them for their support. Thank you for joining us today. I need to add how emotional it was to see the extraordinary event of the Baltic countries yesterday, how emotional it was, and how much we appreciate Senator Kirk coming in the rain when he got up on stage under the umbrellas and he said, "Neither rain nor storm nor Putin is going to prevent me from coming today." And we thank him also and all the members of Congress for standing up for Ukraine in Congress. We need to know who our friends are in Congress. We are with you and we thank you, and we will make sure that the Ukrainian community votes for you in the next elections. Ukrainians voted for independence in 1991 with a 92% vote. In November of last year, Ukrainians revolted against corruption and in defense of their dignity and for a European future in the revolution known as the Maidan. They overwhelmingly support Ukrainian territorial integrity and they are united. North, south, east, and west of Ukraine are united against Ukrainian invasion. Ukrainians of every ethnic group, those who speak Ukrainian, those who speak Russian, made it clear that they do not want to be part of Russia. They want to be part of Europe, not part of the Russian Empire. Russia violated every international agreement. Russia has no respect for the world's legal system. Putin is restoring the policies of the totalitarian past and following the footsteps of Stalin. He is mocking the United States and Europe with his deceit, his lies, and his disregard of every international agreement. Even today, on the day when Ukraine held the Independence Day parade in Kyiv, Russian invaders paraded Ukrainian prisoners on the streets of Donetsk. This is an outrageous breach of the Geneva Convention. Russian tanks, soldiers, and trucks crossed the border of Ukraine in violation of every international law. Putin crossed the red line. It is time to respond. He crossed the red line and the United States and Europe must respond firmly. We ask the United States to provide defensive equipment so that Ukrainians can defend themselves and reduce the loss of human life. We are not asking for boots on the ground. We are asking for equipment and intelligence to help Ukraine defend itself. It is Ukrainians, nobody else, who are putting boots on the ground and will continue to do so. We want the United States to defend America, to defend American values, to defend freedom, democracy, and human rights. We do not want America to provide Putin with excuses and opportunities to invade Ukraine and other countries, with opportunities to arm terrorists in the east of Ukraine and throughout the Middle East. He is arranging the world order to his liking and mocking what America stands for. We welcome today's statement from Secretary Kerry that the United States is firmly determined to support the rights of all Ukrainian people to choose their own path. We feel blessed. We are blessed that our parents and grandparents escaped oppression and came to the United States, where we, their children and grandchildren, can live in a society that guarantees human rights and freedom. And we are grateful for the opportunities afforded to those Ukrainians who immigrated the last 23 years, and to all immigrants who wish to build normal, productive lives and make America safe and strong.
Thank you very much. I believe that oppression anywhere is a threat to freedom everywhere. And therefore, I am delighted to be here with you this afternoon with my fellow elected officials, religious leaders, civic and community leaders, and the Ukrainian community to not only express our recognition of the independence of your country, but also to understand, as I understand, that freedom is a hard-won thing. Each generation must win it and win it again. I've had the good fortune to travel to Ukraine. I've seen the beauty of its land. I've seen the strength of its people. I have seen their fierce determination to retain and experience freedom, liberation, and self-determination. Therefore, not only do I stand with you, but the members of the House of Representatives, where I am, recognize that so goes Ukraine, so goes the liberties of our people here in the United States. So I commend and congratulate all of you. Fight, fight, and as you fight, we will fight with you. Yes, God bless America, and God bless Ukraine.
My generation grew up with a free and independent Ukraine. We are curious about the world and want the same opportunities afforded to people in the West. Unfortunately, the kind of future we want does not appease Russian leadership. When Russian tanks rolled into Crimea and intimidated the population to further their own goals of annexation, the West watched and eventually gave them a slap on the wrist. The same thing is happening now. We understand why the West doesn't want to get involved, but the West must understand that Putin will not stop with Ukraine. Our young, proud soldiers are defending the world from Putin and his instigation to start World War III, and the West sits back. Putin fools no one when acting the part of humanitarian. How can he protect anyone when human rights abuses run rampant in his own country? Just the other day, Russia sent the terrorists in the east trucks filled with aid without the consent of Ukrainian authorities. These same trucks will be used to carry weapons for use against civilians. This is a blatant breach of Russia's international commitments, including those made in Berlin and Geneva, and a further breach of Ukrainian sovereignty. What other proof does the Western world need that Russia has invaded Ukraine? This is a war. It is no longer an isolated conflict in a faraway place. The 298 passengers who went down with MA Flight 17 shows what may happen if terrorist activity and Russian reinforcement are allowed to continue. War and terrorism affects us all. Silence and inaction will lead to further tragedy. Putin will not stop with Ukraine. The West's inaction reassures him that it is acceptable to continue fatal hostilities because there are no consequences. Western politicians spend months discussing their next course of action at the cost of thousands of Ukrainian lives. We don't need more diplomacy because it clearly isn't working. Our soldiers need equipment, supplies, and training if they even stand a chance. Russia will never forgive us for our desire to be free. Freedom is the most frightening word for those who have never felt it. We need the effective support of the global community as Ukraine fights for their identity and future. So I ask you today, on the 23rd year of our independence, help us continue being sovereign and act. Don't let the deaths of our brothers and sisters at Maidan and the continued fighting of our soldiers be for nothing. I sincerely believe that in our lifetime, there will be a peaceful and prosperous Ukraine. But for this to happen, we need real support, not words. Thank you. God bless Ukraine and the United States. Slava Ukraini.